Mexico City. Quite unprecedented and unimaginable for everybody. But I'm proud that GTICC rose to the challenge, it adapted, and it made sure that the show went on. Ultimately, we're actually awed at ourselves. Did we really do all this? Yes. The GTICC and the Embassy of India in Mexico has.
Welcome, Dr. Radhakrishna ji.
Namaskar, Dr. Srimati ji. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am, and thank you for joining us. We will start in the next 7-8 minutes.
Yes.
Till then, kindly see our promo video. We are on.
Sure.
Yes. Thank you.
Has given a very good account of itself. This shows the creativity and resilience of the GTICC staff, led very ably by their workaholic director, Dr. Srimati Das.
Namaskar. Barrier Busters, Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center, Mexico, performs amidst COVID lockdown 2020. In a year like never before, 2020 comes to an end. 2020, Culture Reloaded, where we have broken all ceilings, transcended new technological barriers, harnessed the changed world order, adopted utterly new modes of transactions. Yet the show went on unhindered. We were tested to the limit by innumerable constraints unheard of. GTICC has documented 2020 initiatives in a video format, Barrier Busters, which is all telling in itself.
A total of 211 in-house flyers with creative suggestions by His Excellency Manpreet Bora, Ambassador of India to Mexico, Dr. Srimati Das, GTICC Director, GTICC staff, and even invited guests in Spanish and English for the benefit of Mexican, Belizean, and Indian viewers. The publicity of the flyers has reached not only the Indian diaspora and Mexican Indian lovers, but also educational and cultural institutes in Mexico City and other important states like Guanajuato, Oaxaca, Jalisco, and even neighboring countries like Belize, reaching approximately 15,000 followers in order to update GTICC events in a timely manner. The digital flyer creation and distribution has been involving the paper reduction, resulting in the minimization of GTICC overall carbon footprint. Due to the pandemic lockdowns, the audiences have been eagerly looking forward for interesting and innovative contents on internet. At the same time, the GTICC has been producing multi-theme content in different forms and platforms, resulting in the increasing number of contents as well as viewers. The Embassy of India in Mexico and the Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center organized 31 cultural events in 2020. These events were grouped into 4 main celebrations: 70 years of India-Mexico diplomatic relations, International Yoga Day, 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, and International Ayurveda Day. These celebrations were held to share with the audience the connections and similarities between Mexico, India, and Belize in different aspects. The Indian Council for Cultural Relations, through the Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center, Embassy of India in Mexico City, has thrived in adversity during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, accomplishing the objective of ICCR by fostering and strengthening cultural relations, exchanges, and mutual understanding between India, Mexico, and Belize.
Namaskar. When we speak about India, we get reminded of the vibrant and dynamic nation we represent in an equally vibrant country like Mexico. Continuing with the strides gained in 2020 under COVID restrictions, the Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center has been on the forefront of establishing and flourishing cultural diplomacy of India in Mexico. The center forays ahead to contribute towards building this great cultural bridge between India and Mexico. Throughout the year 2021, GTICC has conducted 46 online and hybrid events, designed 135 posters in English and Spanish, imparted 4 master classes in Tabla and Kathak by masters from India, conducted 2 international workshops in Amete and Patchitra Katha paintings in collaboration with institutions like IIT Kharagpur, held 4 international contest competitions on paintings, essay writing for women and scholars from India, Mexico and Belize, and also scripted the prestigious cultural compendium on India-Mexico Cultural Connect, which was jointly published by Indian Council for Cultural Relations and the Embassy of India in Mexico. The Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center has been the instrument of active public and cultural diplomacy of the Government of India in Mexico. I am proud to witness that the events and activities conducted by GTICC had got large audience and were resonated in the minds and thoughts of every Mexicans who attended them. Establishing useful linkages to leverage the power of soft power diplomacy and enhance our visibility has been the vision of GTICC, and it is so heartening to witness the successful implementation of this vision. Under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav celebrations this year, the Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center has planned numerous activities keeping in mind the outreach and to engage numerous actors like think tanks, academicians, scholars, painters, dancers, musicians alike. I would like to mention here that we all are looking forward to the activities planned by GTICC in this year 2022 and 2023, especially under the rubric of AKAM celebrations. The spirit has been reinforced, the energy has doubled, and the partnership between India and Mexico will definitely flourish in the coming years, especially in the field of cultural linkages. I invite all of you to please come and attend the activities being performed by the Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center virtually as well as physically. Please join us in celebrating India in Mexico. We are at your service. Enhorabuena, muchas gracias.
Namaskar. As the director of the Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center, Embassy of India, Mexico, it gives me a great sense of accomplishment to lead the team and to put on record the voluminous work put in by my talented, hard-working, highly technically savvy team members, Mr. Ricardo Perez, Gabriela Mora, and Aaron Espinosa, in transacting the numerous initiatives for Mexico and Belize in 2021. We have endeavored to give you a glimpse of what we accomplished under pandemic situation in 2020 through this promo video, Barrier Busters. 2021, another year, much team effort, many milestones crossed. Nothing limits us in our conceptualization and realization. 3 events out of the 46 cultural events conducted since January 2021 till date, which stands out for us at GTICC. The first was an international painting competition for amateur women painters from India, Mexico, Belize in July 2021, and the theme was No Lockdown for Creativity. Their take on the pandemic. The response has been stupendous. The second, we are very proud of our initiative in celebrating October 2nd in a very unique manner this year in conducting the video blogging competition on Wallpaper Mexico,
with philosophies and thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, in collaboration with the prestigious Children Film Society of India, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. The third was Embassy of India Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Centre was the guest of honour at the 7th Miradus Localis International Cinefest from October 13 to 17, 2021. The highlights at this Cinefest were 8 Indian films subtitled in Spanish and the grand cultural presentations by the ICCR scholars of this cultural centre. We did woo the spectators. The year 2021 yet to conclude, and I'm sure these cultural forays will be taken to new heights with every dedication and devotion by GTICC towards enhancing the preferred partnership bond between India and Mexico through this soft-powered diplomatic initiation. We will strive to give our best and leave the rest. Namaskar.
Dr. Das.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Buenos dias, Mexico, Belize. Good evening, India. Namaskar to my esteemed panel of speakers. We are really honored. We are really feel awed by the presence of 3 esteemed speakers today and in this concluding day of the 4 days mega conclave. I am Dr. Srimati Das, First Secretary and Director of Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Centre, Embassy of India at Mexico. Welcome, Swagatam, bienvenidos. On behalf of the Embassy of India, Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Centre, Mexico, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome Juhi Rai, the very young, highly motivated, focused and energetic Charge d'Affaires, Embassy of India, Mexico City. She will be joining us very soon. She is a little indisposed and she said she will be joining this forum as and when she feels better. She has a sore throat today. So we are happy that we have an esteemed panel with us today. We have got viewers on YouTube, we have got viewers on Facebook, and we have been watched by the spectators from Mexico, India, and Belize. The Embassy of India, Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Centre, would like to accord a very warm welcome today, the 4th day, and also the culmination of the conclave to Dr. Shobhana Radhakrishna, Chief Functionary, Gandhian Foundation for Good Governance, India, Dr. Ramakanta from Heartfulness Institute, India, Shri Sridhar Rao from India, who have all graciously consented to deliver the conclave address and the event addresses at this 4th day of 4 days mega conclave on who is an Indian after 75 years of independence. 2 steps forward, 1 glance backward. Our highly motivated speakers who will helm today's conclave on spiritual augmentation in an Indian after 75 years of independence has also spread the glow of spiritualism all around to address us today at this momentous time in history of a nation as we celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and India at 75. Welcome to you, esteemed guests and speakers. A great pleasure to welcome my colleagues from the embassy, the esteemed invitees from India and Mexico, educationists from universities and colleges of India, Mexico and Belize, ICCR alumni, ICCR scholars, researchers, lovers of Indian and Mexican culture, and the Indian diaspora. India at 75 is an event which comes only once in a lifetime of a nation or an individual. As Indians, we are lucky to witness this milestone event, which attains a new dimension at this embassy, Indian Cultural Center, Mexico, by these culturally enabled scholars and performers. Today, we have in the beginning a prayer, a unique prayer, which I'm sure Dr. S. Radhakrishna would love it, because we would say spiritualism can be not only in the form of bhajans, the bhajan put in a new format of a Sufi movement. So this is the core relationship we bring by a performer from Mexico, Claudia, who understands every nuances of Gandhi's favorite bhajan, but she enacts it in a Sufi attire and in a Sufi dance form. Radha Krishna ji, this is specially for you because we think that in today's 75 years of independence, we need a confluence of all the spiritualism on a single platform. I'm sure you are an expert and you will enjoy this. So too, Dr. Ramakanta, an enabled spiritualist, and Gunuganti Sridhar Rauji. Ricardo, kindly play the video for us.
La verdadera religión no es un dogma estrecho, no es una observancia externa, es fe en Dios y vivir en la presencia de Dios. Significa fe en la verdad y ahimsa. Adoro a Dios solo como la verdad. Todavía no lo he encontrado, pero lo estoy buscando. Estoy dispuesto a sacrificar las cosas más queridas para mí en esta búsqueda. Hace tiempo que llegué a la conclusión de que todas las religiones son verdaderas y nuestra oración más íntima debe ser que un hindú sea un mejor hindú, un musulmán un mejor musulmán, un cristiano un mejor cristiano. Rezar no es pedir, es un anhelo del alma. En la oración es mejor tener un corazón sin palabras que palabras sin corazón. Hay gente en el mundo tan hambrienta que Dios no puede aparecerse a ellos sino en forma de pan. una cosa que se me ocurrió en mis primeros estudios de la Biblia. Me cautivó de inmediato. Leí el pasaje: haced de este mundo el reino de Dios y de su justicia, y todo os será añadido. Para mí, Dios es la verdad y el amor. Dios es ética y moral. Dios es intrepidez. Dios es esencia de vida y luz. Dios es conciencia. Donde está el amor, ahí está también Dios. Una fe viva en Dios significa la aceptación de la hermandad de la humanidad. Ante el trono del Todopoderoso, el hombre será medido no por sus actos, sino por sus intenciones, porque solo Dios lee nuestros corazones.
Dear panelists, it is a confluence of Ustad Bismillah Khan's Shehnai, Mahatma's great talks on religion, humanity, and the Sufi movement subtitled in Spanish, so that the message of the great Mahatma, the spiritual Mahatma, reaches the Mexicans, the Belizeans, and the Indians. This was a small presentation before you, and I'm sure the panelists would have liked it. Now it will be followed by the conclave address by none other than Dr. Shobna Radhakrishna. Having traversed these 4 days, the terrains of historical India, the cultural India, the philosophical India, today is spiritual augmentation in the ambit of these 4 dimensions. Many questions loom large before us. Where do we fit in as Indians now? Have we moved on? Have we reoriented ourselves? Is there a need to reorient or redefine ourselves? What is the image we need to project to the world at large? Is there much reorientation needed to formulate the concept of 21st century Indianism? Who is an Indian in the present global setup today? What are the global expectations from India today? Do we need to relocate Indian culture within the paradigm of new age technical adjustments and requisites? Is there a need to rework the boundaries of individual and collective selves? Is the time right to settle India's selfhood? Is India frozen? Is it at once old and new? Questions galore, doubts which will be assuaged, answers found by our esteemed speakers through their experience, scholarships, ethos, and quintessential Indian outlook. The 3 days have been extraordinarily informative, and we are sure the 4th day will give us the final spiritual peace to us, and which will in totality will give us a model of an Indian after 75 years of independence. We are indeed honored by the presence of Dr. Shobna Radhakrishna, Chief Functionary of Gandhian Forum for Ethical Good Governance and an acclaimed international Gandhi scholar, as our conclave speaker today. Experience, exposure, excellence, expert in her deliberations across continents, countries, class, and creed. She is an epitome of all the four E's and all the four C's. Dr. Radhakrishna has to her credit more than 200 speeches across the world, and she is one who carries the Mahatma's ideals as the beacon light for Indians, for the world after 75 years, and to spread it across the globe. We are fortunate as Indians to have the Mahatma walking the face of this earth many decades ago, and Dr. Radhakrishna continues it and spreads the message of the Mahatma to us. Dr. Radhakrishna's life is in itself an example of how one life can be spiritually enlightened by work and sacrifice and not just by preaching. She leads by example. Dr. Radhakrishna has been brought up in Mahatma Gandhi's Sevagram Ashram at Wardha, India, and has cultivated a strong ideological connect with Gandhi's ideals since childhood. She has established many organizations to work for Sarvodaya, goodness of all, Gram Swaraj, self-dependency of the villages, and constructive programs inspired by the vision of Mahatma Gandhi. She has delivered more than 200 lectures and Gandhi talks and spiritual moorings in life by following the precepts of the Mahatma in more than 100 countries, a human being, a man who walked this earth, yet he is our prophet of spiritual growth. Dr. Radhakrishna is a very sought after speaker on spiritual India. And we at GTICC have been very fortunate to call upon Dr. S. Radhakrishna whenever we have gone to her with a begging bowl, give us the peace and spiritualism. She has always said yes to us. She has never disappointed us. And we are indeed fortunate today to welcome her amidst us at this culmination of who is an Indian from spiritual point of view. Dr. Shobhana Radhakrishna, we look up to you for your great thoughts on spiritual augmentation in an Indian after 75 years of independence in the rubric of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Do we walk the off-beaten path, or we have to find new bylanes for our spiritual augmentation? She will lead us by our fingers, by our hands, and let us see where she leads us for the spiritual augmentation to be called as an Indian today after 75 years of independence. Madam Radhakrishna, the floor is all yours, and we welcome you with Namaste.
Namaskar. It was such a wonderful beginning to today's conclave in the form of a brilliant performance by the artist, and I really want to congratulate her. It was so beautifully done. The messages of the Mahatma and the melodies of Shehnai from Ustad Bismillah Khan Saab. It was just a very apt beginning because Gandhiji used to begin and end his day with prayers. And this is how we began today. I am very grateful to you, Dr. Srimati Dasji, for conceptualizing and presenting this wonderful prayer to set the tone of my talk, which will be on spiritual Mahatma Gandhi. I express my gratitude to the Embassy of India in Mexico, to GTICC, and to you, Dr. Srimati Dasji, for having invited me to give this talk at the Mega Conclave. I have been tuned. I have been listening to all the speakers, and I've really gained so much knowledge. And it was a wonderful, very wonderful 4 days of knowledge. And I really I'm very honored to be here today, and I convey my greetings to all the esteemed fellow panelists. Dr. Ramakantaji, namaskar. Dr. Sridhar Rao Garu, namaskar mandi. And to all of you who have joined today. In India, spirituality and religion are part of people's everyday life. The quality of our actions and reactions depends upon our vision of life. A narrow vision is divisive, a broad vision is expansive, but the supreme vision is all inclusive. The higher is the vision, the greater is the mission. And that is our mission that we are speaking about spiritual India. And the standards were set by none other than Mahatma Gandhi. Spirituality is also a vision to understand the oneness of total life. When we comprehend that oneness and are one with the totality, our perspective of life and the world changes. Real spirituality involves understanding the totality of life along with the oneness of existence. Often, certain rituals are misconstrued as the essence of spirituality. India is the abode of spirituality, and it can be called a spiritual hub pulsating with life and energy. Spirituality is the soul of India. A spiritual person pursues self knowledge motivated by a longing for self realization, not just a scholarly pursuit, but with a sincere longing to experience the truth firsthand. That person who only does religious activity may necessarily not be spiritual if that person worships an idol but refuses to accept Him, the God Almighty, in all the hearts of all being. In essence, our religious activities should only aid in intensifying our thirst for truth. In our ancient scripture, the Upanishad, that says, by knowledge alone do we gain liberation. Liberation is freedom from grief, illusion, and fear, freedom from slavery to our mind. Spiritual vision is all encompassing, all inclusive, and understands life in its totality. It must be assimilated and made as our own by living it. Spiritual strength need not always imply material prosperity. But if we strive for economic development equipped with spiritual strength, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. And that is India's message to humanity. Spiritual here doesn't mean religious or superhuman or godly. Spiritual only means those elements in a man which are intangible, support a holistic view of life and selflessness, attaching the highest value to the good of the group, a truth that goes beyond loyalty to a particular leader or individual. Spirituality for a global community builds on the spiritual facet of our common humanity, stressing wholesome living on Mother Earth, our home, and opening on to the range of religions and beliefs in God. The best example of spiritual leadership we see is Mahatma Gandhi, the apostle of peace. We are celebrating 75 years of India's independence. And I will talk about the role model of spirituality in practical day to day life by sharing some examples from Gandhiji's life and philosophy as per my experience. He is universally accepted as an exemplary model of ethical, spiritual, and moral life with a rare blending of personal and public life, the principles and practices, the immediate and the eternal. He considered life to be an integrated whole, growing from truth to truth every day in moral and spiritual status. To him, ethics, morality, virtue, values, dharma, and spirituality are overlapping, even interchangeable terms, and are concerned with the way we live. He said, and I quote, I do not believe that the spiritual law works on a field of its own. It expresses itself only through ordinary activities in the economic, social, and political life. According to my understanding, Gandhiji's life possesses a quality that exceeds all accounts of it in terms of its spiritual dimensions. He considered spirituality as the primary dimension of his life. He wrote, and I quote, "What I want to achieve, what I have been striving and pining to achieve these 30 years or so, is self realization, to see God face to face, to attain moksha or salvation. I live and move and have my being in the pursuing of this goal. All that I do, by way of speaking and writing, and all my ventures in the political field, are directed to the same end." To be spiritual in Gandhiji's view is to be unselfish. To be selfless is to see oneself in others and others in oneself. The true self within is what connects us, connects one with the other. Gandhiji asserted repeatedly that he shared the Advaita notion that we are all a part of and participate in the same self, Atman or Brahman. Spirituality teaches us that in whatever method we follow, whatever else we want to do in life to become a better person, we have to serve humanity. We must work in a spirit of service and sacrifice, dedicate ourselves to a higher cause. But today, all are trying to prosper, to do well without service. Service is the heartfelt gesture that comes from understanding that we owe our success, we owe our very life, our existence to hundreds and thousands of other elements who have contributed to our well being without having paid for it. We have received so much in life. When we recognize that, and when we do an audit of all that we have received, and the miserable smallness of what we have to contribute, we develop a sense of gratitude. And out of this gratitude comes the sense of urgency to repay. Whatever service we can do as a token of our gratitude for all that we have received, if we do it in the right way, then whatever we do, great service or just a little bit, helps in our spiritual growth. Gandhiji cultivated detachment and desirelessness in his relations, wealth, and material objects. He dealt with millions of rupees but did not have any personal property. He chose voluntary poverty and got detached from all the institutions that he had founded and nurtured. He was attracted to the idea of minimalism, a trait of the ancient Indian practice of sannyasa. He renounced everything, wanting to identify himself with the poorest of the poor in the society. Renunciation of the fruit of action is perhaps the most difficult to attain. Gandhiji left the results of action to God and remained free from worries. And this he had learned from the central messages of the Bhagavad Gita, which teaches us to lead a selfless life without attachment and possession. And Gandhiji lived according to these messages. The best way to attain selflessness and non attachment is to engross oneself completely in an objective that is much larger than the self. He had such an objective before him. There were activities where he submerged himself. The ability of non attachment towards his action and movements gave him the capacity to rise above daily actions and gave him spiritual strength. This also gave him the unique ability to touch the hearts of his opponents. I'm happy to inform you that I was born in Gandhiji's last ashram in Sevagram in Wardha in Maharashtra. And I wanted to share my understanding and experience of living in the ashram established by Gandhiji as a model of face to face non-violent society. And that consisted of living together, sharing and caring without the distinction of caste, religion, sex, or age. This care transcended bonds of blood and economic or other worldly interests. In Gandhiji's ashrams, we shared our joys and sorrows, our work and responsibilities, our vices and virtues, and sins and saintliness. Why, the most solemn community activity was community prayer, and these were prayers from all the religions, Sarva Dharma Prarthana. There were morning and evening prayers, and there were also the grace said before each meal. There would be special prayers for special occasions, and each meeting or function would begin and end with prayers. In the evening prayers, the 18 verses from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita used to be recited that describes the quality of a person with steadfast wisdom, a sthita prajna. Spirituality gave a deeper meaning to Gandhiji's life and work, and it manifested in his ability to view human beings as human beings without attaching any labels of background or creed. He considered each task to be a God given task, a gift from God. He was ever vigilant and did not waste God given precious moments. He rose above his joys and sorrows and shared the joys and sorrows of others. He felt absolute oneness with everyone and extended the same courtesy and respect towards everyone. He firmly believed that everyone is capable of change, as each person has the potential to be good and to do good to others. Gandhiji was soft spoken, humble, and very trusting with adversaries. Even in extreme situations, he maintained balance, sense of humor, wisdom, clarity, and calmness of mind. He practiced voluntary self control at every step through repeated questioning, and that question was exactly what we have been asking: who am I? Who is an Indian? And that, to him, the answer came from his inner voice, that the real purpose, and what is the purpose of my life? So the answer came to him repeatedly that the real purpose in life is to serve others. His life was transparent and open, and he had harmony between his thought, word, and deed, pointing to his impeccable integrity. And above all, his first and foremost consideration was to be of service to people. He had a keen desire to restore the dignity of all human beings. Gandhiji realized that actual conduct was far superior to preaching about behavior. That is, he walked the talk. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the third chapter, verse 21, Lord Krishna says, Yadyad acharati shreshthas tat tat te vetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever a great man does, that the other men also do. Whatever he sets up as the standards, that the whole mankind follows. So the standards have been set by none other than Mahatma Gandhi. And that's what is India is known for everywhere. And that is what we want all of us to follow. I will recite the Shanti Mantra for the well-being, safety and health of all. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let all be happy. Let all be healthy. Let all experience auspiciousness. Let no one be overwhelmed by grief. Om, peace, peace, peace. I will end today's talk with the blessings from Mahatma Gandhi, who had said that peace is the only positive force that will lead us from darkness towards light. I once again extend my grateful thanks to the Embassy of India in Mexico, the GTICC, and to Dr. Srimati Dasji for organizing such a remarkable mega conclave. I thank you all who have joined me in my talk. Namaskar.
Dr. Shobana Radhakrishna. I, for myself, whenever I listen to you, I become a better person after 15-20 minutes of your talk. This is my takeaway from every event I have had with you. You create a finesse in your listeners. This is your contribution as a spokesperson of the great Mahatma. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Dr. Ramakanta V. former Chief Conservator of Forests and Director, Institute of Wood Science and Technology, Government of India. A highly coveted post, sir. What are you doing in this spiritual augmentation of an Indian after 75 years? My spectators across the globe may wonder, just by this 2 lines introduction, what is the senior most highly placed Indian forest officer doing at this 4th day of the conclave on spiritual augmentation? Let me take you, ladies and gentlemen, on the track of Dr. Ramakanta's spiritual journey among the nature, among the habitats of far-flung villages, among the greens of the forests and woods, and you will see what a spectacular journey of the soul has been traversed by this highly placed Indian forest officer in reaching and augmenting the inner peace of the soul which percolates to all around him. His spiritual journey began at a very early phase of his life, but in his 30s, probably life's turbulences rendered it an urgent necessity for him to seek spiritual fulfillment. Getting inspired by the life of Siddhartha, the prince who through penance and sadhana, meditation, became Buddha, the enlightened one. Dr. Ramakanta set his goal of life to have an inner spiritual growth and also spread it around. There are many ways to reach one's goal, so to spiritual growth. Dr. Ramakanta sought a way for self-realization, trying out different means and paths like Hatha Yoga, chanting of mantras, and later on, different meditation techniques. A voracious reader and a great deal of scriptures from India and also sacred texts of various religions. After 14 years of extensive, intense research, Dr. Ramakanta was initiated into heartfulness meditation and many years ago, and he stayed with the institute ever since. His ways of spiritual growth, as with most of the Indians now, is to find one's ways of comfortable avenues to seek the peace within. For every peaceful person is a source of transmitting the peace all around him, a kind of osmotic action. Let's hear Dr. Ramakanta V. Let us know we all could do so as Indians for our inner growth after India has come to this landmark point in self-history and at World Forum. Dr. Ramakanta V. We welcome you, sir, with a namaskar. Kindly share your wisdom with us. Dr. Ramakanta, your microphone, you're muted, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your kind words. I'm audible, I'm sure. Respected Juhi Raiji, Madam, Charge Affairs of Indian Embassy at Mexico. And thank you, Madam, Dr. Srimati Dasji. Thank you, distinguished fellow panelists, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan and Sridhar Garu, and my esteemed participants of this webinar. Thank you very much for this, giving me this opportunity to address you all. 75 years of India, having got out of the shackles of slavery, much has changed in the very nature of Indian. 75 years, it was easy to define an Indian as a slave, he or she. Today, it's entirely different. Instead of speaking on as to how different an Indian is today in the contemporary world, how similar, how different, I will be speaking about having born in this ancient civilization, what are the positive influences one can imbibe and become a very unique denizen of this globalized world. India is in the realm of tropical world. Abundant sunshine, precipitation reaching the nook and corner of the country. Food has never been a problem in India. And if it were a problem, it was a man-made disaster, not a human-made, man-made disasters. Having experienced prolonged periods of peace and prosperity, Indians, ancient Indians, had the luxury of asking themselves profound questions. Like Madam said, who am I? This question doesn't come to all. When it comes to someone, that person will find it hard to sleep unless one gets the answer for it. Who am I? What ought to be the purpose of my life? How has this creation came into being? Can I know God? Result of these kind of contemplations, meditations, introspections has led to an enormous body of literature. We have the 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, the Atharva Veda. We have 2 epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. A part of this Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, most read. 200 odd Upanishads, 555 crisp, very difficult. It poses a challenge to your intellect. Brahma Sutra, 18 Mahapuranas, 18 Upapuranas. I can go on listing a whole lot of literature. And if you these agamas, hundreds of agamas, 28 Shaiva agamas, treatise on yoga, Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja, so much is written. If you add this Buddhism, literature of Buddhism, Jainism, literature left behind by Sufi saints of India, you will be convinced one lifetime is too short for you to go through, read, digest them. However, this is the task given to me, a very difficult one. What is the essence of, what do those books speak? What do you understand? If you ask me a personal question, initially I thought it's a sacrilege to tell about the essence of so much of work, ancient Indian wisdom in 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But then in India, we are given freedom. The scriptures, I don't know one of them saying that if you don't believe in God, you go to hell. No. So I use this with kind of a freedom to speak. What do they speak about? They try to speak a lot about God, then ultimately give up. God is, you can't comprehend God because he is beyond mind, incomprehensible. But one thing with certainty they say, we have a body, I have a body, you have a body, but you are beyond that too. You have a mind, you are beyond mind. You're more than that. And you have a soul. We have an astral body, numerous subtle bodies, broadly categorized as manas, chitta, buddhi, ahankara. Mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego. These 4 can be changed by ours. There can be refinement in this. Soul is immutable, a spark of divinity. You can't comprehend, but you can feel the presence. In the Upanishad, they say God pervades the entire universe, the created universe, but He is also found in the cave of your heart, human heart. And then an understanding that every human being has this inherent desire, the Atman, to merge with the Paramatman, the soul to be in Layavastha with the ultimate principle, God, whatever you call. That is the purpose of life. India is now almost, it's a wealthy India, much better, relatively maybe. And young people often talk about it, uncle, I can live without God. I want to enjoy my life. Maybe when I'm old, I'll think about what you say. I say the ancient scriptures, there is much. Actually, one of the fundamental principles that I have found out is keeping joy in the heart itself is a sadhana. They talk about dance, drama, joyful living. Transient nature of human life. Children like peppermints, adults have their fun elsewhere. A supreme bliss. You talk about happiness. Yesterday's happiness is today's memory. If today you have a problem, that is reality. You talk about a supreme bliss and an opportunity to transcend your fear, which is inherent in all of us so much. Instead of trying to tell give them the temptation, a carrot, I say, look around us, even in the remotest possible place in India. Through my experience, I can say truthfully, these truths of ancient Indians have lived. Atiti Devo Bhava, uninvited being, treat him like a god. What a beautiful thing. Go anywhere, you get, no free meal. No, there is always meal for you. Generosity. Why? Where does it come from? Come from an understanding that God is in my heart, He is in me. I have to recognize the presence of God in others. This is one wonderful message from India, that Sarvam Brahmam, respect all life forms. Mother Earth, the ancient Indian said, what of thee I dig out, let that quickly grow. Let me not hit thy vitals or thy heart. Let thy benevolence ever flow. Mother Earth. These are all wonderful things to imbibe. It is exceptionally important to imbibe these influences, live in harmony with nature, live in harmony with other beings, not just human beings. This is one part. The second most important thing that I find it is a lot of importance is given for human existence. Na manushyat shreshtaram kinchit. There is nothing loftier than human existence. And Devam Manushya Rupena. God comes in the form of human being. This is one of the core Indian value, an understanding. We have Avatara Purushas who are worshipped as very God. So when we say Namaskar, we are saluting, remembering that God in that. This is another thing that I would say. Then another thing is that, are we changing with the changing time? There has always been an improvement in this spiritual field as well. Upanishad is sit at the lotus feet of the master. Now, probably in this globalized world, when there is so much of activity, decades of your life nobody can find and sitting at the lotus feet of a guru. So I know of one great soul who said, not necessary, not necessary. He reinvented an ancient yogic technique which was lost to India, an ability to share his spiritual wealth through yogic transmission. Close your eyes and receive, he said. And then I'm one of the beneficiaries. And this person said, Sri Ramchandra of Shahjahanpur, we affectionately call him Babuji Maharaj, he said, don't discard the material world. It is real. And don't discard a universe, a vast universe within yourself. Bringing balance to these two things is saintliness. Didn't speak much about celibacy. Simply said one day humorously, God is not a fool to have created two sexes if one were to be enough. So bringing balance to life, seeking excellence in life is ultimate. I have the fourth generation guide, a spiritual guide, and then I find changes happening in the spiritual processes. Actually, for me, I end it with this. When I read a whole lot of books, I felt I was ridden with guilt. Be kindness, compassionate, kind, merciful, tolerant, all the time smiling and be sthita prajna. But I wasn't. How shall I be? Why am I like this? I asked myself, why am I so restless, so passionate, and so much of desires? What shall I do with it, with myself? How can I be that? Says, subject yourself to a process of Raja Yoga, meditation. One may be born as a human animal through tapaha, ascesis yoga practices. You can burn away the grossness, the darkness, the impurities, the complexities. You can emerge as a humane person capable of all these virtues, because these virtues are innate for all human beings. Caring, sharing, compassion, mercy, tolerance. They all become ours through a process of yoga. And that is not the end. Each one of us have the potential to become a divinized human being, godlike. For that, one is self-effort. Probably one can succeed. Extremely difficult method. Seek help from an adept, a guru of caliber. That would make it much easier and a smoother path, if not anything more I can say. And you will feel, and there are people who can help us in our quest. If there is a heaven, if you have not experienced here and now, it doesn't exist. In this very life, you can experience supreme bliss. And when you seek that kind of a help from another person of caliber, the process of sublimation of ego also happens automatically. Otherwise, I do penance, lots of meditations, hours. I did it, I will be big. Here, I'm granted this. Condition of my heart is being granted His benevolence. You remain humility, which is one of the most important feature of any human being, and he becomes worship worthy who nurtures this one trait, humility, love. With this, I should say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your deep knowledge with us, Dr. Ramakanta. These are all imbibed in you by being with Mother Nature all your career. I guess this is what your job has done for you. And
And my
thank you for sharing.
colleague to my spiritual guide too.
Thank you.
thank,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Thank you.
Now I would request my technical hand, Mr. Ricardo Perez, to play a video called as Ayurveda Amrutanam. And there are so many avenues for us to reach. Paths to tread are many. The destination one, spiritual growth. We heard Shobna Radhakrishna ji spread the glow of Mahatma's teaching. We heard Dr. Ramakanta talk about the yogic way of attaining peace within us. Now, this video will talk about Ayurveda, our ancient, which was a part of our International Ayurveda Day celebration, and which we shared with all our Mexican and Belizean friends. And this tells us that Ayurveda can be Amrutanam, a source of inner calm and peace. Ayurveda, yoga are very popular in Mexico. As India and Mexico are the two of the most ancient countries in the world, culturally, spiritually, and traditionally. No wonder India-Mexico enjoys a connection of the soul. Senor Ricardo, kindly play the video for us. Por favor.
Ayurveda Amritam, Ayurveda Amritam, Ayurveda Amritam, Ayurveda Amritanam. Ayurveda Maharishi es inmortalidad, Ayurveda Maharishi es inmortalidad, Ayurveda Maharishi es inmortalidad, Ayurveda Maharishi es inmortalidad. El cosmos es como el átomo. El cosmos es como el átomo, igual que el microcosmos, igual que el macrocosmos. Humana fisiología es así, cósmica fisiología es así. Igual que el microcosmos, igual que el macrocosmos, humana fisiología es así, cósmica fisiología es así. Ayurveda Amritam, Ayurveda Amritam, Ayurveda Amritam. Descubramos el Veda, fisiología en nuestro ser. Descubramos el Veda, fisiología en nuestro ser. Yo soy Veda, eres Veda, eso es Veda, aquí por doquier, todo consiste en Veda. Ayurveda nos da calma y paz. Ayurveda el equilibrio nos da. El Veda está en mi cuerpo, el Veda está en tu cuerpo. Al respirar, tu aliento es Veda. Al respirar, tu aliento es Veda. Al respirar, tu aliento es Veda. Ayurveda Amritanam.
Yes. So we wanted to share this with our Mexican friends that Veda is the elixir of life. And the girl who sang it, she's our tabla student of the cultural center. So this is the way how we spread the Indian knowledge system from this Gurudev Tagore Indian Cultural Center. We do our best, ma'am. We do our best, sir. Our esteemed conclave speaker is Gunaganti Sridhara Rao Garu, President, Telangana Yogasana Sports Association, a philanthropist by nature. From a Gandhian expert to an expert of the spiritual soul, we come to a philanthropist. Because in Indian philosophy, as much as I little understand, sorry, before the experts, I need to say this. I'm no one to say this because I'm master of all, but I practice everything, but I'm master of none. Philanthropy in Indian philosophy is a rare path to be tread towards self-realization. It is said in Indian philosophy, which is my favorite quote always, what the right hand does, even the left hand should not know about it. That is a kind of philanthropist, is Sri Gunaganti Sridhar Rao. Ever since his childhood, he had a great desire of serving his fellow beings and has succeeded a great deal in realizing his aspiration. An engineering graduate and also has a postgraduate degree in yoga. The path towards spiritual peace and augmentation Sridhara Rao has sought is through popularizing yoga and pranayama among the people of Telangana, a state in southern India. They in turn have been influencing a large number of people to adopt to a healthy lifestyle through yoga and pranayama practices and also lead life on ethical and morally sound principles. Sridhar Rao has a in-depth knowledge of Ayurveda and has been nurturing Mother Earth through massive plantation programs, especially focusing on medicinal plants and species. He has rendered commendable service to migrant laborers in the hard times of COVID-19. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, how many paths one can tread in creating a cocoon of peace and spiritual well-being around us. All three speakers telling us that Indians are in a position now to pick and choose his way in attaining spiritual growth for himself and for all others around him? There is not a single path. There are many paths before us. I welcome Sridhar Rao to address this conclave. नमस्कार।
Namaste, Pranam. Distinguished guests for this occasion, Dr. Ramakant Garu and Dr. S. Radhakrishna, and the Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore Cultural Association Center Director, Dr. Srimati Das, and your viewers over on the web. I congratulate by organizing this occasion involving Indian people. आप सब लोगों को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं। भारत का आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव 75 साल का जो आज़ादी के बाद हम लोग बना रहे, वैसा ही हम लोग एक स्लोगन आत्मनिर्भर भारत, जो हम लोग स्वतंत्र हुआ, हमारा हेरिटेज, कल्चर, स्पिरिचुअलिटी एक आदर्श बनाने के लिए हम अंग्रेजों से आज़ाद हुआ। वो आगे और बढ़ना है। भारतवर्ष में 180 साल 200 साल पहले तक भारत को भारत माता बोल के पुकारते थे। माता ऐसा है, खुद का परिवार को भी पालते हैं और दूसरों को भी सपोर्ट करते हैं। वैसा भारत हर एक फील्ड में पूरा विश्व के लिए एक आदर्श था। आर्थिक रूप से, संस्कृति संस्कार, आध्यात्मिक रूप से, स्वास्थ्य के रूप में भी, हर एक रूप में भी। आदर्श बोले तो स्वास्थ्य रहना है, समृद्धि रहना है, नैतिकता रहना है और आध्यात्मिकता रहना है। तभी व्यक्ति वो वर्तमान में रहता है। जो वर्तमान का व्यक्ति को बहुत खुशी रहता है, आनंद से रहता है, स्वस्थ रहता है और दूसरों के लिए सेवा के लिए समय भी रहता है। मानव जीवन ऐसा होना चाहिए, हमारा एक पल की भर में, एक ब्लिंक समय में हमारा शरीर के अंदर हजारों कण पैदा होता है और उनका जीवन भी समाप्त हुआ है, पूरा जीवन भी होता है। उतना समय में भी एक कण को भी हम लोग उसको कष्ट नहीं देना, उसको जीवन कंटिन्यू करने जैसा हमारा विचार रहना है। हमारा शारीरिक और मानसिक शक्ति भी ऐसा रहना है, तभी हम लोग एक आनंद रूप से रह सकते हैं। वही आध्यात्मिकता बोल के हम लोग कह सकते हैं। वैसा भारत पहले से एक आदर्श है अभी भी, और आदर्श हम लोग सोचना है, आदर्श व्यक्तित्व, आदर्श परिवार, आदर्श समाज, आदर्श शासन, आदर्श शासक, तभी हम लोग आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। उसी सिलसिला में हम लोग, हमारा जीवन स्टार्ट होता है हमारा बर्थ से। हमारा जीवन ये जन्म से स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ, बहुत जन्मों से हम है। हमारा हर एक विचार एक हमारा इंटरनेट द्वारा, नेचुरल इंटरनेट द्वारा स्टोर में है। सो हमारा जन्म स्टार्ट होते ही वो फिर रिपीट होता रहता है। अगर हम लोग उसको चेंज करना बोले तो हमारा जन्म देने वाला माँ का प्रेम होना है। सो वो प्रेम से हम लोग आध्यात्मिक तरफ बढ़ सकते हैं। जो मदर का कांटेक्ट, मदर का जो फीडिंग, मदर का जो बातों पैर का, उससे एक व्यक्ति में विकसित होता है। एक व्यक्तित्व मोल्ड होने में मदर एक आयरन रॉड को 1000 डिग्री में अगर उसको हीट करे तो जैसा बोले तो वैसा मोल्ड होता है। वो मदर ही कर सकते हैं। सो बाद में हम लोग जैसा बोले तो वैसा बन सकते हैं वो प्रोफेशनल में। जब मदर ये नहीं करे तो वो आगे बढ़ना उतना आसान नहीं है। वो गुरु का काम होता है, उतना आसान नहीं है। इसीलिए हमारा जो फिलॉसफी में जो माता जी, हम बच्चे का वोम में गर्भ में रहते समय 9 महीने में आखिरी 3 महीने में मातृभाषा हम लोग सीखते हैं। वो मातृभाषा सीख के आलम्बन से हम लोग पैदा होते हैं। फिर उसके साथ वो बोलना शुरू होता है, फिर हम लोग लिखना शुरू होता है, देन पढ़ना होता है। अगर हम लोग मातृभाषा को छोड़ के दूसरा भाषा में हम लोग बोलना, लिखना, पढ़ना शुरू करें तो वो पूरा नहीं आता। इसीलिए हम जो चिल्ड्रन मातृभाषा में पूरा कंट्रोल आता है, वो दूसरा भाषा में भी अच्छी तरह से सीख सकते हैं। उसके साथ साथ जो भी ज्ञान विज्ञान का आगे बढ़ सकता है। सो मातृभाषा बहुत जरूरी है आध्यात्मिक चिंतन के लिए। सो आने वाला समय में हम लोग भारत को एक आध्यात्मिक तरफ लेके जाना है। हम लोग फिर बुराई रहता, बिकॉज हमारा पूर्व जन्म से बहुत कुछ हमारा साथ में रहता है। हमारा माता पिता कैसा रहना है, शादी में पत्नी कैसा, पति कैसा, बच्चे कैसा, ये पूर्व जन्म का सुकृत कर्मा से हमारा पास आता। वो जो भी है हम लोग सहन से उसको पेशेंसी टॉलरेंस से हम लोग करें तो हमारे को एक खुशी मिलता है और आनंद मिलता है। उसको हम लोग रिजेक्ट नहीं करना। यही आध्यात्मिकता हम लोग कह सकते हैं। सो हमारा अंदर बहुत कुछ चीज हम लोग वो फॉर्मुलेट कर सकते हैं। जो प्रकृति में बहुत कुछ जीवराशि है, बस उसका जन्म और चलन जो उसका इनबिल्ट सॉफ्टवेयर है। बट एक मानव में हार्डवेयर के साथ हम जन्म होता है, बट सॉफ्टवेयर खुद डेवलप करना पड़ेगा। सो हमारा पास है वो। अगर जो व्यक्ति के अंदर हेट्रेट, ग्रीड को खत्म करे तो उसको हम लोग नलिफाई करें तो हमारा अंदर बहुत कुछ आगे बढ़ सकता है। सो आध्यात्मिक चिंतन में हम लोग आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमारा अंदर विजडम बढ़ाना है। हम लोग जो भी काम कॉन्शियस में करना है, शेमलेस काम जो कुछ भी नहीं करना है। जो रॉन्ग काम्स, जो फियरलेस फॉर रॉन्ग डूइंग्स हमारा अंदर नहीं आना चाहिए। वैसा ही हम लोग रेस्टलेस नहीं रहना है। जो भी काम करते हैं ना, इनर फीलिंग्स में करना है। वैसा ही हम लोग अहंकार से नहीं रहना है और असूया से नहीं रहना है और ओवर ग्रीड भी नहीं रहना है। इसके साथ साथ हमारा अंदर मेंटल और शारीरिक आलस्य भी नहीं रहना है। तभी हम लोग आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। सो आध्यात्मिक को आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमारा अंदर एक कॉन्शियस में रहना है। जो कॉन्शियस में हमारा को नष्ट करने के चीज चिंतन आता है, उसको हम लोग रिएक्ट नहीं होके उसको नलिफाई करना है। तभी हम लोग अच्छा इंसान बन सकते हैं। भारत एक प्रपंच के लिए, विश्व के लिए आदर्श है। आने वाले समय में भारत आर्थिक और नैतिकता, आध्यात्मिकता और स्वास्थ्य और लिटरेसी में भी पूरा आदर्श रहेंगे। इसी सिलसिला में हम लोग आगे बढ़ेंगे। आप सब लोगों को मेरा धन्यवाद। नमस्ते।
Namaste, Gunuganti Sridhar Rao Garu. It was such a everyday advice what we get from our elders and from the knowledgeable, experienced people in the family. So you have been a member of our family in this last 4 days of the conclave. Thank you for these home remedies, what you have given to us. Namaskar. Coming to the conclusion of these 4 days mega conclave, I, as the moderator and the director of this cultural center, could not have aspired for a better conclusion to this 4 days mega conclave by having this spiritual augmentation of a human being. We started with historical, one glance backward, 2 steps forward. Now I feel that I should have made one glance backward and 3 steps forward. The title of this conclave: historical, cultural, man is a cultured animal. Cultural, philosophical, we need to be guided by the philosophies of the past and the present. And the spiritual, that is the treasure what we have in our soul. Now is the time for the logical accommodation and acceptance of all 4 dimensions to explore who is an Indian after all, after 75 years of independence. Every session has to have a conclusion. So too the 4 days conclave. We have our answers, sir. We are coming out with the answers of this 4 days conclave. Now is the time for India to cut its own modern garb. As an Indian, I believe we have the resilience and capacity to reason and to question why and how. India has her resilience to constantly encompass diverse ideas of what India is. Her history is itself expressive of the Indian idea. These 4 days of the conclave were successful in looking forward to arousing some implicit awareness suffused with sensibilities of our ideas and theories in philosophy, history, culture, and spiritualism rising from India's ineffaceable past. We do have the capacity to move away a bit and have an objective relook at being an Indian. Last 4 days of this conclave, we have started talking, we have started brainstorming, we have started formulating a new definition of being an Indian after 75 years of independence. India at 75, celebration from 2021 August to 2023 August. We will tell the world the story of India, India's journey into modernity and democracy through many historical, cultural, philosophical, and spiritual hues and attributes. Mexico, a very important hub for India to bring out the cultural connect between these two ancient civilizations. And I'm so happy to be here as the director of this cultural center because we can do so many cultural connect between India and Mexico, who are today called as the preferred partners. I would like to thank Juhi Rai, the young, energetic charge d'affaires Embassy of India, Mexico City, for being with us always. May not be physically possible. Encourage us to do our best for our country, our embassy, and our cultural center. Thank you, charge d'affaires. My deep gratitude to Dr. Shobana Radhakrishna, Dr. Ramakanta, Sridhar Rao Garu, our esteemed speakers of repute who have motivated us Indians today to deliver what we promise in the premise of spiritual augmentation and a kind of reorientation needed to fit in the rubric of India after 75 years of independence, celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Thanks to the great nation and thanks to you, esteemed speakers. I would like to say thank you to my embassy colleagues for their presence and support. Our esteemed invitees and friends from India, Mexico, Belize, and their presence at every event, be it on YouTube, on Facebook, and the other social media pages, always bringing a warm smile onto our face. But last, but it can never be the least, I, as the director of this Indian Cultural Center, could not have moved a single step unless I had my local technical team of Ricardo Perez, Gabriela Mora, Aaron Espinosa with me at GTICC. They ensure that we always have a glitch-free session. Thank you, amigos. Thank you. Giving 4 days of technically glitch-free event. It's true that teamwork is indeed a dream work. Before I sign off, let me be reminded of the great shloka which we as children are taught in India, in schools, to think of self-growth and of others' well-being too. A prayer goes up, sir, ma'am. Asatoma Satgamaya. Lead me from untruth to truth. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Lead me from darkness to light. Mrutyuma Amrutam Gamaya. Lead me from mortality to immortality. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Namaskar. Gracias. Viva India. Viva Mexico.